What is going on in the world, Lubie? I mean, and good morning, people. It's good to have you guys with us. Destined to go to the racetrack later on today. You know, and Mayo's good. I mean, he keeps bringing those Friday and Saturday forms. Although, one thing I find, and I love Tony Screno, but he always ends up taking like the Saturday racing form.
Oh, does he? Does he even bet? Why does he need the Saturday one? Is he betting on Saturday?
I don't know. I mean, is that just a byproduct of being in the media forever, where whatever they're giving away, you're taking one? Like, even though you have like zero use for it.
What do you mean?
Is he watching FanDuel? I don't think so. That's not Tony's bag.
I have no interest at all in even watching any of it, and I almost grab it every week.
Yeah. It's insane, isn't it? Right? You wouldn't know how to read it anyway, right? I mean, look, it's no shame if you have never looked at a racing form. You look at it, it's like, what the fuck is this? That's probably the worst move that you can make in any kind of relationship. Try to teach your girlfriend to read the racing form. Not that she's incapable. No. Now, here's the thing. If she already knows everything about the form and she's pointing out things to you on the first date,
that's really
how do you feel about that woman?
Yeah, it's amazing.
But is she ever going to buy your bullshit when she's already surpassed you in terms of her degenerate levels, which would be the ultimate test? Because I like that when, you're with somebody. Now, this is only in my fantasies, Libby. Where you're with a woman at the track and she says, can you believe this, Christoph? Come on, man.
Oh, yeah.
This is the second time he's put blinkers on this horse, and guess what happened both times? Finished last. Then he has the barn send in a bunch of money, so the horse is 4 to 5 every flash, and you know what happens with 4 to 5 favorites. People believe in them.
The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
All right, very pleasant good Monday morning, everybody. Peel yourself off to my Monday here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz. Hope you guys had a fine weekend. I didn't do much of anything over the weekend. I was a real lump. Lubie, I think, what did I do? I made it out to the beach one day. I did do my walks of life, which is keeping me going. And I made it to the beach on Saturday. It was beautiful out there. Absolutely fantastic. I was about to go yesterday, but some clouds came. It was a lousy weather the rest of the afternoon because I never saw the light of day after that.
Yeah. It was dark and whatever all day.
Entrenched in front of a television set, which is not a good habit. I mean, you start thinking in the latter years, like, why am I wasting my time watching fucking TV? And then I got caught up, and you know me, I'm not really this type. We were just discussing this on our No Filter show. I'm not really the type to gape at celebrities or be overcome with, some kind of a wave of the emotion when I'm in the presence of some kind of celebrity. I mean, even people that I really, had tremendous admiration for. I guess I was lucky. I kind of eased into relationships with people that I had great admiration for as a kid. And then later in life, got to know some of these people, like the late, great Angelo Dundee. Who would think, as you were watching Clay and Liston from the Miami Beach Convention Center in 1964, who would think that someday you'd be pals with Angelo and the entire corner there? I didn't know Bundini Brown, but of course the fight doctor, Ferdy Pacheco, had many enjoyable periods of time in this guy's company, working and as socializing. But I was never really enamored with like celebrity, Libby. I don't know. You're not overwhelmingly so either in that regard. I mean, you're not the type to go, hey, look, that's Tim Tebow, and then run over and try and get his autograph.
No.
That's not you, right? Hey, Tim, I love that, jump pass that you threw, you piece of shit.
No.
Now, you might be inclined to run up to somebody that you had a problem with, which would be almost any player that you ever rooted for in your lifetime. You started criticizing Bobby Bowden for those missed field goals. I mean, you're with Bobby Bowden. He's practically on his deathbed. And you're like, hey, Bobby, you shouldn't have kicked those field goals. You knew they were going to miss. You're like, come on, Lubie, give the guy a break. But you were pretty much yourself, I guess, in these situations where some people just, they lose themselves to the moment. They're like, oh, my God, I can't believe I'm standing in front of Steve fucking Garvey or whatever. Garvey, is he going to win a Senate seat in California? Is that possible? Is he running for a state senator? I mean, not a state senator, but a senator of the state? Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, God.
A U.S. Senate seat?
I don't know.
Is that possible? I think he might be. Steve Garvey.
No.
Steve Garvey is not my padre. He was always very nice to me. Everybody says he's a dickhead, but he was always very nice to me. Although how he found a carbon copy of his gorgeous wife, who ended up, believe it or not, Lubie used to host the L.A. morning schmooze show with Regis Philbin before he ended up, as Regis and various other people.
Well, that's funny.
Now it's not Regis anymore because he checked out a few years ago. Well, it always seemed like a very good an amiable guy, did he not? Like a guy who was on the right side of things. But yeah, he used to host that morning hour show with Garvey's wife, who was gorgeous, and then he dumps her and finds an exact, not even a reasonable facsimile, an exact replica of this woman. How do you do that, Louie? Have
I
you
don't
ever
know.
been
That's
able to do that
impressive.
in your lifetime? I mean, you dump a girl or break up with a girl. She probably dumped you. I mean, that would be the case with me. Came to her senses, right? And and then you seek out somebody that looks just like her. I mean, do you do that? I'm not sure. No, that isn't your game.
No, I know I supposedly have a type in a sense, but the women I've dated are all very different.
Yeah.
Very different.
Jersey Kyle had me pegged. He said you could put blonde hair in a mop and you would make a move on it.
Well,
It's unfortunate. Anyway, not really a stargazer in my lifetime, Louie, and yet I found myself somewhat tuned in. I couldn't turn it off. The red carpet shit that was going on before the Oscars, and I haven't seen any of the movies. I don't know the last time I was in a theater. It had to be years ago, maybe pre-COVID or whatever. And I wasn't really that frequent of a moviegoer then, even though early on in my adult lifetime, I loved going to the movies, and it was part of ritualistic behavior that I had with a couple of women in my life that we would go to the movies at least once a week, usually the same day. And when I was living in LA, we used to go. There was like a Tuesday night or whatever that we happened to be off, but we were working in this restaurant, and so when we were off on Tuesdays, and we would go to the movies because they had a doubleheader all the time at this one theater that was like $1 to get in or something.
that's sick.
And they were pretty good movies. I mean, usually close to first run or something that you would actually want to see from the past. So I loved it, and naturally I've made like a zillion movie references in my lifetime, but you've noticed, Lubie, they're all for movies that happened before most people that were tuned in were born, right?
Tend to be.
Nobody remembers Cuckoo's Nest. I mean, to me, that's like a recent flick.
It ain't recent, but I love that movie.
Papillon, come on, these are classics, Lubie. Classics compared to I don't know what were they offering. What was the feel like last night? Most people that and Oppenheimer didn't last long enough to steam about Oppenheimer to impress me that it was a movie that I absolutely have to see. Now I would imagine, is it not available somewhere on TV at this stage, or
It's either on
has it?
Apple TV or HBO Max. I have to figure it out because I do want to watch it. And the same thing with the
Yeah, I
Killer
wouldn't mind seeing a movie.
Flower Moon. It's just both are supposedly super long, and it's rare that I have 4 hours where I can just sit and watch a movie. That's my problem
Yes.
with longer movies, and that's why I haven't gotten around to either of those two. The one with Scorsese's latest one and Oppenheimer.
What is it? Poor Things? Was that the movie? Poor Things? That was winning a lot of them.
Flower Moon or something.
Oh yeah, the Flower Moon thing. Yeah, that was DiCaprio and De Niro.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure they're both really good. They're just really long. So, like, I don't have like 4 hours where I can just, there's life happens.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing with those movies.
Hey, like your dog has to take a piss and
You have to walk the
you're not
dog.
watching.
The wife yells at you across the house. So you have to go to the store. You have to work. There's always something going on. I don't have like 4 hours really ever. Just sit there. Like, even when I watch a game, yes, the game's 3.5 hours, I get up like 20 times in the middle of the fucking game. Like, I don't get to just sit and watch a game. So, like, a movie, it's hard to follow when you're cutting it in and out and you're stopping, then you have to rewind, and then so that's the thing. I haven't seen either of those, but I'm sure they're good. I've heard different things about them. Like, that's sort of
most people seem to think that Oppenheimer was, maybe like the last 45 minutes of $1 Million Baby, a little bit long and ponderous.
Yes.
I suppose somebody, in the Mike Mayo category might say that your intellectualism comes into question if you didn't see Oppenheimer, like you were obligated, if you're a smart person, to have seen this movie. And that, you're a fucking idiot. You're watching XFL football. If you weren't inclined to go and pay the money to see Oppenheimer, I don't know. It looked interesting to me. It must have been well acted because Robert Downey got the Best Supporting Actor and seemed like a pretty high quality field of people that might have had even more sentimental value. But it seemed to be a movement that people were very much in favor of, that this Robert Downey would get Best Supporting Actor. They made a big deal out of the thing. I like the way they did the presentation with, did you watch this at all, Lubie? Watch any of this Oscar shit?
Shirley, like, oh, the Oscars. I'm like, yeah, no, we're good. We haven't seen any of the movies. I don't know.
I wouldn't be able to tell you. I mean, if anybody got jobbed or conned, but nonetheless, I found myself sort of, plugged in because of the celebrity presence that was
Half the
there,
house.
all in one spot. It reminded me of doing like it was like Radio Row on steroids, wasn't it?
That's what it feels like. Well, and also
Grab a guy, see if you can get something clever out of him for a couple of minutes, and then send them on their way. Everybody looks ravishing, by the way, or stunning.
there you go.
What
Or
would you prefer? I mean, if you probably if you were greeting the many women that were on the red carpet and doing interviews, trying to grab people, imagine you producing a show there with me,
yeah, that wouldn't go well.
a podcast of some sort from the red carpet at the Oscars, Libby. How would we handle that?
So we wouldn't care about any of the stuff that they ask. Like I would care more about working with this actor or that actor. Like I don't give a shit about who are you wearing. Like what the fuck do I care?
Who are you wearing is always the question.
care
Well,
about
well put, Libby. Yes.
Why do I care about that? I don't give a shit. And they always and the women try to outdo
Wearing
each other.
Givenchy. It's like, go fuck yourself with your Givenchy. Stick it right up your ass, lady. What is that?
The weirdest shit. Like they try to outdo each other
Yeah.
with being more naked and more weird. And I'm like,
And who wears these outfits anywhere else? That would be the question. I mean, you're a top designer. You're designing clothing for women. Are you really designing something that is in excess of $100,000 for one dress or whatever? I don't know what these things cost, these outfits, but where essentially you may as well have made it out of paper, crepe paper, because you're going to toss this thing in a fucking toilet afterwards because you can't wear that anywhere else. Where else are you going to wear this shit?
nowhere.
J-Lo. I mean, I didn't see her. Was she involved in this thing last night? Affleck hasn't had a movie out. Well, I don't know. I mean, has he had anything recently? I wouldn't know.
That
Affleck.
Jordan, he did that fucking Jordan movie, which I guess was last year. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. That was a couple of years ago. That wasn't half bad. I mean, it wasn't great, but it wasn't half bad.
It was fine.
I did see that.
Exactly.
All right.
So,
So, I mean, what kind of odds were you getting or having to lay? Were you having to lay more than 20-1? It might have been worth it that Oppenheimer would be named Best Picture. Everybody in the universe seemed to know that, right?
yep, it was automatic.
That was a given. They weren't going to give it to Barbie because they kind of stiffed Barbie.
They,
You saw Barbie. You did not see Oppenheimer, correct?
I did not see Oppenheimer. I saw Barbie. I came up in the middle. A lot of people, all genders, were like, "Wow."
Was it daylight when you came out of the Barbie movie theater with your lovely wife Shirley?
We went during the day actually to see Barbie.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Anybody see you coming out of there?
I don't know, but when I went and saw it, everyone I knew had seen it, so it
The
wasn't like
professor, PC. I mean, they wouldn't have given
it
you.
wasn't like I look like an asshole. But I think the professor saw it. He saw it before I saw it.
Oh, he saw it too. Oh my
He went with
God!
his friend, and they have kids, but it actually wasn't for kids. That's the thing; it was for adults.
Yeah.
It was very much for adults. I thought it was good. I didn't think it changed the world, but I also thought it was better than the Academy. Like I could have.
You don't feel like it empowered women to be themselves?
No, it should have. I think it empowered Hollywood to tell women to go fuck themselves, and I don't. And it's literally the movie sort of proved itself true by how the world took it. It was the biggest movie in the world, even bigger than Oppenheimer this year. It literally was worldwide, talked about for months before it came out.
That and the Taylor Swift tour were the two biggest things.
Yep, during after, it was well acted. The writing was solid, not fantastic, but solid. The story was good, not great. And
I think wasn't that song that won from Barbie also?
There's a song,
the Billie Eilish song.
We're in there.
Yeah.
That got credibility. I find it funny that Hollywood did to the movie what the movie was talking about. I do find that funny that Hollywood totally missed the point of the movie, but it doesn't mean you just give them words either. I guess I don't know. I didn't see Oppenheimer. I heard it dragged. Like I heard it was good, but it dragged. Barbie didn't. Barbie moved nicely, and it was a nice movie. Like Oppenheimer, I haven't watched it yet just because I've been heard consistently good.
Light the fuse already.
Yeah, and I know the story too, so it's like I'll see it eventually. Obviously, it's on TV.
It looked well done. I mean, I would have to say the scenes I've seen from Oppenheimer, which there's been a variety of them over the last what did it come out like almost a year ago?
Over a year ago,
and I mean, it looks like it's just a really well produced film, well acted, and you would have to say that probably worthy of the kind of critical acclaim that it's achieved. But nonetheless, I mean, if you bet on that, how could you have lost? It seemed, I mean, that was one that was made in the shade, and that everybody knew that Downey was going to win the Best Supporting Actor. I guess whoever the lead actor, the director won, right? They won all the big awards. Oppenheimer. They saved them for the. They gave all the weenie shit to the other movies, costume design, sound effects, this kind of thing. And I don't know. I mean, do you stay tuned in when they're doing those particular awards, Lubie? where they're doing awards for things, of course, always involving movies that you not only never seen but have no desire to see, and yet they win for special effects and costumes and makeup and all of this shit. And you're watching the first hour and change of this thing, and you're asking yourself, is Jimmy Kimmel really funny? That's the question. I don't know. Is he? I never really cared for those NFL bits he was doing, even though they were a little avant-garde and off the beaten path. He was one of the originals to go out and do something. I guess it changed a lot when Frank Caliendo came on the scene, the NFL with his Madden impressions and things like that. But when Jimmy Kimmel, remember, he was doing little bits on the Fox pregame shows, and they were all right. What would you say? I mean, it wasn't like he was Haywood Hale Bruin or something, this guy, but I don't know. Is he really funny? Does he have to be? Is he just acceptable? What do you think, Lubie?
Yes,
Jimmy Kimmel.
That's it. I mean, in this day and age, you can't. Comedians go after groups of people. Groups of people right now don't accept that.
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel will go after a Trump. He'll go after a Biden. He'll play it down the middle, maybe lean a little left, but he won't go crazy left. He won't go after the right too hard. He'll throw a Trump joke in. He'll throw a Biden joke in.
They're doing a good Trumpster joke.
And then I'll make fun of if he's friends with all the actors. They know him.
Yeah.
So he can poke fun at them in that very PG way that they'll allow. Whereas like comedians don't give a fuck. Like comedians go
It didn't go over big when he was talking about Downey's drug addiction from years ago.
And I guarantee he didn't belabor it and he moved on. Like comedians don't give a fuck.
What do you do when that first joke bombs? I mean,
that's the thing. Like he's done it well enough where I figure he knows not to do that stuff. And if he does meander there, he moves out. Like, so he's fine for these. Look, the award shows are good with guys that are very milquetoast. You can't like the best comedians ever don't kick ass as award show hosts. It's just in this day and age, they wouldn't even be allowed.
Nobody would want to touch
Coy,
it.
people ruined Coy, and I'm like, I like Coy. We had Coy in studio. Coy's really good, but he had never done it. He was on like 2 weeks' notice, so he didn't get the prep.
He bombed. Wow.
And he went for it instead of being passive. He did stuff that he doesn't even do in his comedy shows. Like he's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go for it, and he got skewered for it. So like these day and age, if I was a comedian, I wouldn't go near one of those things.
I tell you, I had that experience on a much more minor level, I would have to say, when I was working in the Lapination there, for James Crystal Radio. And I was relatively new to this organization, which had been around for a while, and weren't exactly, unscrupulous would be the kind of terminology that you would hear them referenced to or as. And so anyway, a guy tells me, who I thought was in with the upper level management guys, that... hey, they want you to harpoon everybody. Get up and give a speech here. It was like the Christmas dinner or something. And so I started, just making fun of the people that they told me to go ahead and just unload on. And I could tell right away that they weren't in on the joke.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, fuck. Now what? I mean, you started this stuff. What are you going to do? Just turn around and, well, I hope everybody has a great evening. It's going to be a lot of fun. So it just got deeper and deeper, and it got worse and worse. And literally, the guy was fuming, James Hilliard, who fortunately, I guess no one can find him now because he's been on the run for I don't know how long, since he lost all those lawsuits after selling the radio stations under bogus circumstances. All right. I was going to relay this also. And this involves our good friend Jim Sarney. We were talking about him a little bit, although he doesn't have the national acclaim that he does here in town, where this show is more frequently viewed. I was sending him, a note, a text. He's had like a health procedure, so I didn't want to upset him or anything. But his girl was choking on TV yesterday. I flipped to CBS for some reason, got myself off the racing channel. I was losing a lot of mind bets, and it was distressing. So I said to my son, let's see what else is happening. There's Caitlin Clark and her Iowa basketball team going against Nebraska for the Big Ten championship, women's championship. And they're getting thumped by Nebraska, who looks like they're in complete command of the game with less than a couple of minutes to go. So I started and watched Caitlin Clark make a couple of turnovers on successive possessions. And I didn't even realize at that time, because I hadn't seen the first half, that she was 0 for 9 in the first half, shooting threes. She missed her first 9 3-pointers. and had 4 points in the first half
Oh,
altogether
jeez.
in this game. So they had her completely clamped down. Then when I tune in, she's choking a couple of plays, and I started to send because he's gotten to us, right? Has he not gotten under our skin, Jim Sarney? I know you are capable of ignoring him, but I hear him in my head saying, "You and Lubie and your fucking gender bias." Like the only thing we care about is men's sports, which isn't true because I've caught Sarney many times ignoring phenomenal women's sports accomplishments that I was aware of, and yet he, the biggest advocate for women's sports that you will find anywhere on the planet, other than maybe our other good friend Joe Casale, who's trumpeting now how great it is that Caitlin Clark is doing this, and don't get me wrong, it's great what's happening with that. I'm all for it. Is there any reason not to like this whole Caitlin Clark story, except that when they go into that "we got next" mode, which is that all of a sudden this is better than anything that you've ever seen in your lifetime. You have people telling you this, and I don't know that I buy it. I think it's great. It's wonderful for women's basketball. It enhances the whole image that women's basketball is good until you start looking at the results and see that in most games, you have one team that has a couple of stars on them or whatever, maybe one, like Caitlin Clark, and they're winning 100-38. And you're asking yourself, so what is it that we're watching here? Maybe it's coming along. I don't know. Is it there yet, Lubie? To the point where you go, wow, I would just as soon, have you gotten to this point? I would just as soon watch a women's college basketball game as a men's game. What would you think?
Oh no! Again,
would you take any men's game over a big women's college basketball game?
Yes.
Any men's game?
Any women's? I haven't watched any women's. Maybe because we've talked so much Caitlin Clark. If there's nothing on when they're in like a Final Four, or something,
it has to be a curiosity to watch this woman play ball. No, I mean, I would say yes.
Yeah, I mean, to the point we've talked about. I've actually had conversations about her, so I owe it to watch her a little, but I haven't. Like whatever game you were talking about, I didn't even know it was on. I don't get alerts about women's basketball.
No, I get them all the time, but I was being like an asshole. I was sending Sarney a note about how his girl was choking on national television, and the one big knock against her, if it's a legitimate one, which I don't know, how much substance I attach to this. Although it's an interesting, vague, non-answerable debate, right? To be considered the greatest of all time, do you have to win a championship of some sort? I don't know. I mean, would you consider Caitlin Clark the greatest women's basketball player of all time? I mean, there have been other good ones.
There have been other great ones. No.
Yeah. I mean, I'm talking about in this category where you're watching, you're saying, wow, I mean, this woman can really play ball. She has an acumen for the game that any guy would love to have for sure, and many guys have never even come close to having, which is great. I mean, it's sensational to see somebody pick this up like that. And then just as I'm sending this off to Sarney, because it was an embittered DeForest. What possessed me to do this? Because I was watching this in the first place, and I was mad that I actually stayed on it. And then I was so happy. I don't know why. I mean, is it subliminal, Lubie, that you wanted to see this girl collapse because of all the times that we've been reminded of her greatness? It's We Got Next, isn't it? Where you would have watched the WNBA if they didn't have that asinine advertising promotional campaign implying that they were right there ready to take over for the men's game. As, here we go. We got a spring league of women's basketball. We got next. And you thought, no, you don't. You're going to be waiting 7 games before we ever, acknowledge that this is going on. And I don't know, did that alienate as many people as recent advertisements for Bud Light? And maybe, I mean, this whole business about Wendy's where they were going to go to pricing, surge pricing.
Yeah.
They call that. That's called price gouging.
Yes.
Wendy's. Where's Pam Bondi when you need her?
I mean, the fast food, all the fast, like it should be a boon for the mid-casual restaurant because going into like a Burger King or a McDonald's, their burger is almost the same price as any restaurant we
starting to get there. Yeah.
Like, no, but like a Whopper is like $6. But if you get a Whopper combo, it's like 10. A Big Mac combo is $10. I can go to get a place for lunch. Every lunch place usually has a nice burger special where you can get a burger and fries for $9 something.
Yeah.
And I don't need a Coke. What the fuck I need Coke for?
It's a real burger too.
So you get double the size. It's usually a half-pound burger or a third pound, which is more than a quarter pound, and better. And I like McDonald's fries, but there's more potato to them, so they're probably more expensive to make than McDonald's fries for less money. Like, I don't need the soda. So like to me, that's crazy that like these fast food restaurants, the prices are surged. You surged it, guys.
Yes.
Like you're doing the surge. There's no way. Like yes, I know inflation's hitting restaurants.
It's probably as damaging on the low end though too, because I mean there may not. I don't know. Is there tremendous profit in what McDonald's and Burger King and all these places were doing, or was it just the volume that was making them all of this money?
Well, that's the thing is they get stuff at such a cheap cost. It's a load of garbage when they use the inflation bullshit. Like these restaurants we know literally are raising prices just to make any kind of profit. They get stuff at such a cost and they jack it up so much that the franchisee probably doesn't make that money because they got to kick it to McDonald's. But McDonald's makes a load. Like they raise prices just because they can, not because they have to. Like they don't have to raise prices at the rate that they raise prices. Their costs are so low, and they own that's the problem. That's the thing. It became real estate. They own the properties. They end up buying the property, so they don't pay rent. So like, it's a load of garbage. They're just raised it to these prices where actually when I get these coupons once in a while, maybe I'll go in because I have a coupon, so it makes it almost price worth it. Other than that, I never go to fast food. Like they price themselves out of their value. It doesn't make. You're getting the same. You're getting worse quality for the same price. Like, why the fuck would I go there when I can go?
I used to be a big fast food fan, but I never go into these places.
Lane Lovers Burgers. If you go on a day that they have the specials, ridiculous, and even normal, they have lunch specials every day that are cheaper and they're almost as quick as going to a fast food.
Right? Yeah, I mean, you see some places $6-7.95 on some of this shit. All right, we're going to come back with more. Well, we'll get into some sporting stuff. The Heat played last night. They lost to the Wizards. And Lubie has some, very
frustrated,
very intuitive commentary about that, which is good. Like, what the fuck is going on out there, Spolstra? How are you losing to the fucking Wizards? That happened. We had the Panthers continue their hot play, and Tarasenko, whatever. I mean, comes right in, gets a couple of goals. So second game, he already had a 3-point game. Vladimir Tarasenko, who seemed very dedicated and thrilled to be here. Again, Bill Zito making some quality moves there with the Florida Panthers. And they beat the snot out of Ottawa at home 5-1. What is that, 17 out of 20 that they've won? Something like that. I believe it's 17 out of 20. The Florida Panthers on fire, ladies and gentlemen. Messi, a no-show, I think, in this later Inter-Miami CF game, which they lost to Montreal. There was a proposition bet out there, which would you be inclined to take this every time if you knew Messi was playing? That Messi would, have the first goal in a game, and you had to parlay that to an Inter-Miami CF win. So you were getting some kind of a price. It wasn't a particularly significantly high one either. That Messi would score the first goal in a game, and that would lead to a Miami win. What do you think, Libby? Would you ever take that proposition bet? Does Messi usually score first in the game, or does he get a conciliatory goal later in the game?
He's usually involved in the first goal. I don't know if he always scores it. That's the thing. They're probably going to want you to have him score. But the problem is you don't know if he's going to play or not. Like his involvement in this league is he's a part of it. He's on the team, but I don't think he's playing every game. I know he does other shit with Argentina. I know like he does these other fucking things.
Who knows when he's playing, man? He's on Kawhi Leonard load management now, this guy.
I mean, he is. So
I got the money. You don't know if he's showing up or not. You don't even know if he's coming to the stadium.
I wouldn't bet on them. You don't know. And when he doesn't play, they're a very different team.
Yes. Because it's a bunch of amateurs after that. This is such a fucking joke. It gets worse all the time. And the people, I can't believe the frenzy over this. I really can't. I mean, this one is stunning to me. I understand. It's like, but it's like Babe Ruth, though, and went to the minors.
Yes. That's what it is.
Sort of, when his career wasn't exactly in its prime, but he was still hitting like 50 home runs a season. And was fine and would be a coveted player on any team anywhere in the world. And this guy's playing MLS soccer. Get the fuck out of here. What is that? Talk about selling out your soul. All right. I guess he didn't take the Saudi money. He's to be applauded, right? Because everybody else is taking it. All the people that were spitting on the PGA Tour players for leaving for the Saudi money, they're all in Saudi Arabia. Every fucking sport is there now. Is it not? When is the NFL going to play a game there? Come on, Raj. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. I'm Jeff DeForest. That's Mike Lubie. It's a Peel Yourself Off the Mat Monday here on the Defo Show. Happy to have you along for the ride. Later on, the boys, I guess Patrick Utterly is mad at me for not
How
popping
about
down
Matt?
there.
He just pokes. He pokes at you.
Okay, I don't mind it, though. I can take it. We saw him. He looked great, by the way.
He looks really good. Yeah, he's doing
Yeah.
well. He and his wife, 25
Shenanigans.
plus years of marriage, which is fantastic. So.
You like it better anyway because there's more food for you there.
I don't care about the food.
Yeah.
It's a lot of these places are smaller, so like
yeah, it's just tight.
I have so many people there, and there's only so much going on. So it's
yeah.
whatever.
No, it makes perfect sense, man. I'll stop in and say hello. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. Now that's 1:00 today from Shenanigans. Mayo Fair. It's and Mayo's screaming about something that happened to him at the track. It was weird. The tote board and the tote communication system, whatever, the whole system went down at Gulfstream and Tampa Bay Downs. So they were in the midst of running the card, and they were leading up to the Tampa Bay Derby, which they then delayed for an hour.
Oh, jeez.
As these horses just walked around in circles. And finally, the race went off as a non-betting affair.
What?
You couldn't wager on the Tampa Bay Derby.
Oh, geez. The actual Derby itself? Oh, that's not good.
Tampa Bay Derby, yeah, which wasn't a great, it wasn't an enormous race or anything, but
still a race. It's like
nonetheless, it's the feature race on a big card. And imagine being the person that has to make the call going, no bets on this.
Yeah, like what is that?
Whew. It's like when they wave it off on the roulette wheel just as you were about to plunk it down on the winning number. And they said, no, too late. To put that money on the 7. It wasn't there. When I waved it off, and then there's a big dispute. No wagering on the Tampa Bay Derby. And that held people up for quite some time all around the country in thoroughbred racing. And once again, everybody was pointing fingers at Florida, Lubie, saying that how come anything strange that happens happens here.
I mean,
all right, yeah.
And that'll go on. Let's go.
Back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:37.
Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Hi, guys. If I could squeeze in two. One is just, can you say with certainty that Jimmy Garoppolo will be on the roster on Sunday?
I can't guarantee that anybody in the world will be alive Sunday, so I can't guarantee who will be on our roster on Sunday. So that goes for all of us.
From South Florida to the entire world, thank you to the iHeartRadio app. Here is Defo, joined by Lubie, on The Defo Show.
Segreto here. Let me.
Hey, Tony. What's happening, man? Tony, always anxious to talk about Texas Roadhouse. Where supposedly we're going to be next Friday, right? Or this coming Friday?
This Friday, yeah, we're going to be there doing a special lunchbox.
Oh, very good. Okay, that should be a lot of fun. Tony going to dabble in the salmon again? Why doesn't he just break down and eat a steak? I mean, you know that he wants it.
I don't know. We're going to showcase all. So, I mean, we'll probably get some fish because I like showcasing what each restaurant does. And they do actually do a nice job with the salmon. Shirley used to get it all the time. But I will be making sure there's plenty of steak out there, and we will have the bread, and we'll have all the things. You know, it's annoying. And it's why you've actually said it's why boxing is doing this more and more.
Yes.
I'm hearing more about this fucking Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight. I've heard about a fight in like goddamn 5 years. Like, but even it's not just, and yes, people that aren't into sports at all. My brother-in-law, who doesn't watch any sports, even the Super Bowl, that the lay as fan, the most out of sports person watches, my sister and brother-in-law don't even turn it on. They watch no football all year, so they have no interest in the Super Bowl. He turns to me. I'm at my nephew's game baseball game Saturday. And he turns to me, he's like, "You gonna watch the fight?"
The fight, yeah, as
What
if it
fight?
was Ali Frazier.
I'm like, "What fight?" He's like, he says Paul. I'm like, "Oh my god." I'm like, first of all, it's like June. I'm like, I don't have any fucking interest in that thing.
Imagine it. They already sparked this kind of interest level.
So he looks it up. It's free on Netflix. He's excited. He's like, I'll throw a party. I'm like, I'll go into your house and watch it.
Yeah.
Invite me over. I mean, your family. But like, I had no interest in watching this. But it's also my buddies who are boxing fans are texting me about it. I can't wait. I'm like, can't wait for what? I'm like, what is the fuck? I'm like,
You would think, I mean, you would think that Tyson would beat the snot out of this guy, even though he's 57 years old.
he's turning 58.
Even though towards the end of his career, he was getting the shit kicked out of him by a variety of guys that were nowhere near what you thought his level was. It was the very same caliber of fighter he was knocking out in 4 seconds in the early stages of his career when he fought like every week. Remember that?
Yes.
When he first came on the scene, it was like every 2 weeks, Tyson was knocking out some bum.
Kill people. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, usually a clumsy looking white guy. It was like they were trying to dig up Jerry Cooney all over again, every single fight. They found guys that were similar that could, unfortunately had difficulty taking a punch. Leave it to the intellectual snobbery. I knew this would enter into the conversation. I kind of put a damper on the show. The aforementioned Mike Mayo. Of course, Defoe's never seen Oppenheimer. People that went were tortured, were they not? I think I recall him saying, well, it was a little bit fucking long. It took forever for this guy to set this bomb off. What are you talking about?
That's my problem is, again, people can make fun of Barbie all they want. Everyone that watched Barbie, anyone I watched, I mean, the far right didn't get it.
Most people seem to think it was entertaining.
They said a consistent comment about it. Even people that didn't love it, my wife, I didn't say that, but it was at least good. I wasn't bored in the movie. Like, everyone that went to Oppenheimer, even people who liked it, most people were like, I was confused for half of it, because I didn't remember all the history and they were very historical. So I was confused and it was long. Even people who liked it said I was confused and it was long.
I'm sure it was a fine piece of work. Yeah. But all of a sudden, Mayo's like James Lipton on here.
Mayo said that. Mayo's like, I had to re-up on my history before. I still was a little confused and it was long. Mayo himself said that. So it's like, okay, like I don't need to run to see this fucking movie.
It's kind of like me taking a shot at Sarni about Caitlin Clark being 0 for 9 from the field. I mean, from 3-point range. And then she makes the 2 big clutch baskets at the end of the ballgame that pushes it to overtime and then sparks the win. And all of a sudden, they're the Big Ten fucking champions. Just as I was about to say, hey, you see that, Sarni? Your girl sucks.
I love that.
After she's eclipsed every monumental record that was ever placed and made and accomplished in college basketball scoring history. Just unbelievable. Never mind Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, my friends, as Lou Alcindor. Couldn't even come close to this girl, Caitlin Clark. Incredible. All right, a bunch of stuff happened. I mean, that was, what do you say about that, Louis? Is it just regular season blues?
With the Heat?
Miami Heat losing to the Wizards last night. A very strange outcome in that ballgame. Very strange outcome.
I mean, it's just they're back to doing what they did before they got in that room before the All-Star break. Like it feels like those 4 games where they played shitty teams and should have won and then lost all 4, and then they got on a run after that. They were playing really good basketball. Hero's still out of the lineup. Bam is now doing his yearly. It's after the All-Star break, so I'm going to forget how to play offense. Butler is back to being passive, and this team doesn't know what to do when you have Butler in there and he's passive. And good or bad, look, they had double-digit leads versus both the Thunder and the Mavs right about halftime. They in both of those games, and those are 2 good teams. Those were on the road. They had leads with under 6 minutes left, and they lost both of those games by nearly double digits.
Yeah,
so that's weird. Then you go play the Wizards. It was a dogfight the entire game versus a team that has
the Wizards did everything in their power to cough it up at the end too. Everything in their power.
Wins. They're not trying to win right now. They're not ready to win. So they do this. That's why people discount the Heat, because they go through these weird fucking lulls versus good or bad teams. It doesn't matter who they play. They just play the same way. I don't know. I don't write them off. I haven't said they're going to win the title. I just said they're not scared of anyone, and they're not. The problem is them. Like they get in their own way all too often, and they did it again yesterday.
Oh, it was ugly. And then I think it was 110-100 with about 2 minutes and 4 seconds to go. The Wizards leading, and they just went into the tank. I mean, and you're looking, going, this is incredible. If they lose this game, that tells you everything you need to know about how pathetic this team has been all season long. And they did their best. They ended up giving the Heat 2 reasonably decent shots at winning the game with a three-pointer. One by Duncan Robinson, who missed his last 3 three-pointers, including a couple that really would have made a big difference prior to that on the prior possession. And then Jimmy Butler has a relatively open three-point shot. He was having to hoist it up there pretty quickly. Just missed. And the Heat go down to the Washington Wizards. That was some serious ugliness, Lubie. What are we hearing? What kind of noise is being made by our Miami Marlins in spring training? Anything? Are we seeing
I
anything?
think they're
Nothing?
killing it. Every day I get an update that they're winning whatever to nothing. But
Okay.
like Weathers, they won a game with Weathers, his son, and he pitched a shutout. Rogers pitched a shutout. This fucking guy Puck. But it's spring training. Like I mean, if of any of the preseasons, it's right up there with like they'll do split squad games where half the team is here and half the team's there. Like, what the hell do you do with? I don't do anything with spring training. Like I mean, it hasn't
Let's
changed
see
my.
if I can find some standings here. Yeah, I don't know. I thought they were like 3-5 or something like that. They didn't have a particularly flattering record at this point. Not that it matters. I mean, we used to see the Yankees come in last in spring training standings every year when they were a dominant team, and then they would clinch by July. But I haven't heard anything about it. So not exactly a team that's making a lot of noise around town, a lot of concerns. Your man Giancarlo Stanton finally got a hit yesterday, so they're saying he's ready for the season and ready to turn everything around. Based on one spring training at bat, Louis, he was 1 for 15 prior to yesterday's game, even though he had renewed and rejuvenated his dedication to the game and was at spring training extremely early by comparison to any standard and requirement, was there working out, got in shape. Supposedly was going to try and dodge the injuries by being in better condition, losing weight. And he finally got a hit and literally, Lubie, made headlines in the New York Post. Headlines. And you can't buy a word out there about the Miami Marlins, unless, of course.
5-7. This thing I'm seeing here, I don't know how accurate that is. I don't know if that takes yesterday into account.
5-7?
7. The Orioles are 4 in the Grapefruit League. The Orioles are 14-2. So at least the Orioles are good and taking it seriously too, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know that it matters. I really don't, because who the hell is really playing?
Nah, I don't.
Is the question. You have no idea. And how are they playing it? That's the other thing.
I don't count any of it.
Yeah, you're obviously going to approach that from a far different perspective than you would if it was regular season, although regular season games have started to look like spring training games, right? Where the starting pitchers coming out after 4 1/3.
Yep.
You're like, well, what the fuck is that? He's only giving up 1 run. Well, that's what we got. Analytics tell us to pull him. It's great. I mean, we had a lot of fun being with you. We have to run. We will see you at 1 o'clock. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. Stop by Shenanigans. Meet Lubie and Mike Mayo, and of course the great Patrick Utter.
Yes,
who will have no doubt much commentary. I don't know how much of the show Mayo's going to take up crying and bitching about what happened to him at the track there, where he would have hit like a pick 5 or something and made thousands of dollars. Except he has a legitimate beef. I mean, you've never seen this.
Yeah, that was weird.
The tote machine shut down at Gulfstream in Tampa Bay. Kind of pulverized racing all around the country. All of the tracks were kind of in a holding pattern. They were trying to run this Tampa Bay Derby, and they ended up having to have the race go off with no wagering on it. Incredible. Biggest day of the year there. And imagine being the executives then when you get this, they tell you, hey, you're either going to run the race right now or you're fucked. And that's it. They were fucked both ways.
Yeah,
all right, we got to run. Thanks for being with us, and we will see you 1 o'clock today. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox right here on South Florida Live and the Let's Eat South Florida page. From Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. See you next time as we leave you now that.
The time.
It's 8:49.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.